Welcome everyone to theScore Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Justin Boone, the lead fantasy analyst at theScore, and today's episode is presented by Subway's $6 barbecue pulled pork Mighty Melt combo. Try it today. The preseason is almost over. We got a big slate of games on Thursday night. That's going to be the preseason finale, though, so most stars aren't going to be playing in that game. We have seen a lot of them perform throughout this preseason, though. I know it's essentially exhibition games, but we have seen a lot of players' stock change over the last month, and that's what we're going to talk about today, the risers and fallers from the preseason. But first, remember to download the Score app, check out all the latest updates from the Score Fantasy Football Draft Kit, and go listen to some of the other great podcasts on the Score Podcast Network, like Expand the Zone, our MLB show, or Sweeper Keeper for all the football fans, all the footy fans, I should say, out there. All right, let's bring on our guest, one of the best in the business. It's JJ Zacharyson, editor-in-chief at FanDuel, Numberfire, author of The Late Round Quarterback, and host of the Late Round Podcast. You can follow him on Twitter at Late Round QB. JJ, great to have you back.
Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Well, I specifically wanted to talk to you for this episode because I really feel like you have well-reasoned takes. I feel like you're less apt to be swayed by some of these August performances. Am I right about that?
Yeah, I mean, I try to at least. I try to be as level-headed as possible, yeah.
All right, well, before we get to the risers and fallers, we're going to talk about that a little bit later. What better way to start here than to ask the man himself who penned the late round QB who he's targeting at quarterback in the late rounds of this year's drafts. And I will admit, JJ, I'm doing a slow draft right now in one of my main home leagues, and we are in the 12th round, and I have not taken a quarterback yet, and several other teams haven't either, so I hope you're not helping them out too much by telling us today who you're going to go with.
Yeah, you know, it's crazy. His ADP has definitely risen a little bit over the last month or so, probably just because he's been touted a lot, and we saw a really crazy run from him against Green Bay, but Lamar Jackson is really my go-to this year. You know, I think last season he almost rushed for 700 yards, and he only started basically half the year. Of the quarterbacks since 2000 that have had 700 or more rushing yards, there's been 8 of them, 7 of them have finished as top 5 options in fantasy football. And obviously, Lamar Jackson has to get better as a passer if he's going to reach that type of ceiling, but he's got Greg Roman as offensive coordinator now. Greg Roman has had a history of these dual threat quarterbacks and making them pretty efficient through the air. Colin Kaepernick and Tyrod Taylor both had their most efficient seasons under Greg Roman. So I think he's the right coordinator. I think he's in the right place, in the right spot. They add weapons. They get Miles Boykin, Marquise Brown. They get a speedster in the backfield and Justice Hill. Mark Andrews is another year in. I just think Lamar Jackson makes a lot of sense. And, even if you're drafting him as your QB 10, you're still getting him late. And you're still getting him at a pretty good value. So I'm still cool with targeting someone like him there. Late round quarterback strategy isn't just about a game of chicken. It's just as much about a game of value than anything else.
And even if you don't get the guy you're targeting, if you don't get Lamar Jackson, there's so many quarterbacks this year that I've even joked, you might not even have to take a quarterback this season. Like Sam Darnold's going undrafted in a lot of places. He had a great preseason. He's somebody you can get either with your last pick or maybe even off the waiver wire early in the year if he's playing well.
Yeah, I mean, streaming is a very, very viable thing. I host Living the Stream. I'm one half of that podcast. During the off season, it's very much just like a lifestyle show. But in season, we're giving picks each week at the quarterback, tight end, and defensive positions. And at quarterback, over the last 5 years, we basically streamed a QB6, QB7. That's just using players off the waiver wire and not having the ability to hold on to one player when he does hit, like Deshaun Watson a couple years ago when he was a rookie. So it's a really viable strategy, and it's going to be pretty easy in most leagues to do that this year. There
you go, folks. There you have it. You can follow JJ all year long here and figure out exactly who you should be streaming at quarterback every single week.
Said leave on time, my baby said leave on time.